Welcome back to What Makes It Tick. This is Tuesday, July 16th. I don't even know what day it is. I mean, one hurricane comes through and it just a whole month is shot from that point. So I'm still playing catch up a little bit. Families all spread out all over the state, at least. So our country. And we are just kind of going through things on a daily basis. But this past weekend had a great weekend doing so. So we're going to kind of go around the horn real quick, say, what did you do this past weekend or past week in production? For me, it was a virtual event with a team from Brazil where we're working our virtual studio partner over in Charleston, controlling their studio, but it was for a client in Brazil who did not speak English. Well, a few of them spoke English on the tech side, but all the delivery was in Portuguese. And I speak really bad Texan, not necessarily Portuguese. So I was a little challenged, to say the least, in our productions. Greg, what'd you do this past week?
I've been playing hooky since July 4th.
Nothing wrong with that.
And I feel your
Taylor?
language pain. I mean, I only speak two languages myself, like Bruce Willis, English and bad English.
Well, Texan, exactly. Same thing. Taylor, what about you?
I spent the day at a remote location, set up a remote set for my local NFL team, hooking up cameras and audio into a vMix instance to do some live production in front of a general public audience.
Oh, that sounds like fun. It does. It sounds like fun. We have a new person in first time on the server and also first time on the show. Derek Alcorn, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us what were you up to?
How's it going? My name's Derek. I'm originally from Kansas. I live in outside of Greenville, North Carolina now. For the last 3 years, I've been the equipment and lighting gear manager for the camera department over at Mr. Beast. I've also been our only camera technician, so I've seen a lot of like big setups. I've done a lot of as far as very stressful environments and very jack of all trades kind of deal. I've also been kind of playing hooky since the 4th. My last gig that I set up was with Ally. I worked over with Blue Water. We were setting up an LED wall so they can make their own little it was their version of skee ball and putt putt mixed together. So you could hit it underneath the LED wall and the sensors would pick it up and drop your ball on the screen.
Interesting. That is definitely something different. You're going to fit in really great around here. Hey, John, what about you? John, I know you've been doing some major stuff like man on the moon type stuff, right?
I did have a fixture catch fire in our sports complex, so that was fun.
Ooh,
Yeah, power supply failed. Luckily, it didn't go too far. We were able to put it out very quickly. So that was a little bit of fun. We also had a BGP issue with some networking, so people from on the Cox network from Nevada and California weren't able to access our website. So that was a couple hours of fun troubleshooting, trying to figure out whose fault it is and actually get a BGP peer replaced. So yeah, so flipped the auditorium around the other way, so new hire training could still happen, and then moved our sales huddle, which we streamed to about 2,000 people every week, to a different auditorium, and yeah, just lots of fun.
so
And
what you're saying is just another ordinary week for John?
yeah, I took a half day on Monday, and I blame that on everything else that's happened since. So
So you took time off and then it all went to hell in a
yeah,
handbasket. I relate to that too, completely for sure. Well, it was great to hear from everybody. And today I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit because it's kind of on top of my mind. Yesterday, I helped the office hours team that I'm on from time to time. Many of you know me from that direction. We helped them yesterday do their extra hours, which is their Monday night. It is just another event that they're doing it like it's question and answer and things similar to what we're doing here, but just a little bit looser, a little bit more constructive. We're a little looser, I'd say. The thing is that show was going to be in their infrastructure on AWS, but the lead and the host were on the move, and the just timing didn't work, and some logistics and stuff for a big show that they had going on. You know, we get busy. And so they asked me if I could take over and just host it in our infrastructure. So Jeff said yes, and then we had some fun. So I wanted to kind of talk about how we did that and show the steps that we had to go through. Some things really have improved greatly in this realm. The couple of big pieces we're using. Number one is Zoom Rooms. So Zoom Rooms is a ancillary product of Zoom. So we're all on Zoom right now. And I have a Zoom room, and we're going to join it, and I'll show you the process of doing the second one. I have one joined in right now, and that is sucking out the sources from each one of the people that I quote pinned or added to the view. And then those sources are now being converted over on that machine to convert it over to NDI. The NDI then is going across my network into my TriCaster. This is a TriCaster TC2 Elite, or it could be my BizVector, whatever I have powered up that can, or the Sienna engine, whatever I have powered up that can receive NC NDI. So that's how we did this yesterday, except we were doing a little bit more of it in the cloud, which means it's Zoom Rooms on virtual instances, and then the BizVector, which runs in the cloud. So I had also on the back end, Sienna playing some just extra glue for monitoring and purposes like that. So that's basically how we did the show in a very small nutshell. But I wanted to kind of show what are some of the hiccups and some of the advantages of doing this. So one of the hiccups we ran into the show was there is only a given amount of bandwidth available, both on the account side and also on the Zoom account side, and also in your hardware itself. So on our machines that we were using yesterday, I had the NICs, or the network interface connector, was set to 1 gigabit. And that 1 gigabit got saturated. And it was because we kept just adding more stuff. You know, it's like, this is the thing about any kind of virtual production at all. You don't know what it's actually doing until you break it. And I broke it. So I kept adding more cameras, kept adding more sources, and eventually we pushed it over the edge. It didn't fail hard, which is the hard thing to kind of then figure out, okay, where's the problem? It didn't fail hard. It was audio clicks. It was just a look, and I've never actually seen this before, but every once in a while I'd hear a and then I could watch in the VUs in the TriCaster platform. I could see the audio mixer. I could see it hitting multiple channels one at a time every once in a while. And I was like, okay, this is weird. Never seen this before. Doing the math, I should have had more than enough bandwidth had the NIC actually been plugged into a 10 gig port that it's supposed to have been. Somebody moved it. So did not realize that until it was after we were rolling. And then as we got into the show, I could see these little audio blips happening every once in a while. And further diagnosis, I said, all right, well then the only thing we could do is just power through it. And it was irritating to me as a TD, but it wasn't something that was a complete showstopper. So we moved on, and about halfway through, it finally clicked to me. It's like, okay, well, let me divvy up the load a little bit. So that's exactly what I did. Is I opened up another Zoom room, and I brought in 4 sources on that Zoom room, and then the secondary, or the primary one that I started with, I had only 5 sources coming into that. Perfect audio from then on. So it was, then I knew, and this is one of the caveats, is Zoom Room doesn't show you anything in the interface itself. So you can't just see or get to things. So we'll talk about that in a minute a little bit more, but because I couldn't see anything there, I had no idea of knowing exactly, is that NIC being overtaxed, or is the CPU spiking, or whatever. So that was part of my thing. And so now I've got better places in better things in place, so that I know for sure things to check on our checklist, just like any other production, right, guys? You always end up with something you got to check off again. So that is where we ended up. And so now let's kind of look at what is a Zoom room. So the interface for a Zoom room, let me open up the share here, and I'm going to throw it over to my small screen so I'm not killing everybody with my really big screen here on my 4K. So this is going to be screen 3. There we go. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, look. That's interesting too.
That's a nice like credits
I'm
scroll
feeling
looking.
very 80s
parallax
music
you got.
video
I
all of
know,
a
man. We
sudden.
should have the dum, 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 dum in
Yeah.
the background, right? All right.
Mhm.
So we'll
Or
go
Windows
over to
95
here.
locking up.
Yeah, it's probably gonna give up in a minute or so, for sure. The thing is, let me get that back over here so I can make sure I don't have it I guess, oh, it's showing the share. Oh, so there was something else I didn't do yesterday, was show the share. So this is the TriCaster interface here. Many of you guys have seen it and everything, but you can see the audio coming here. And this is where I could see the audio from each person as they were talking. Then they're not talking, I could hear it go, boop. I could hear it. Then I would see it just peg the meters every once in a while. And it was almost like a cycle, like it was working its way down and then it'd start over again. And it was no pattern. It was just every once in a while I could see there's a problem. As you can see, I have those inputs coming in. So I have me, Greg, John put in, and let's see who we have going into this. There we go. And there's Derek. So I just added those in. There's 4 sources there. You can kind of see, wave around, you see what the latency is like. That kind of gives you an idea of what it is. It's pretty quick. So WebRTC, I mean, that's what's behind the of the Zoom interface, right? So from there, and I'm gonna try to actually, I bet if I flip over to another monitor on this, there we go. All right. So on the Zoom room itself, this is kind of the interface that I'm seeing there. And so this is the people that are joined in there. But at the same time, I have, and now if it'll allow me to do this, I didn't actually think about this part. At the same time, we're going to start off with the very first one. And it looks like it's going to allow me to do this. All right, so this is what a Zoom room starts to look at. And you have basically 2 screens. And so in this view here, you can see it. So screen 1 at the top has the controller interface on it. And these are kind of designed to go into fixed installations and run off a tablet type thing. And so the controller, which I'll show you in a second, the controller I'm running off of a Zoom client itself. I have to pair that with the Zoom room itself. So now I go up here and I find that magic code that's in the top right there. Jonas is not here, so I'm not so worried about him jumping in and stealing my meeting, because he would do things like that. And now you will see things like this all the time, it seems like. But if I hit retry, it'll eventually go. Okay. So now from this point, I am controlling the actual Zoom meeting here. So I'm going to take that back to a single view, because the bottom will just be whoever is talking at that point in time. So I'm going to go back to the single view like this. There's 2 ways I could do it. I could hit join here and then type in the meeting ID, or I could use the controller side here and do the same thing. And now I'm just controlling that remote one. So our same meeting ID that we're using in this meeting, which I am going to have to pull up because I don't memorize it, is the same process of logging in. So 827-931-173-129. And then we join in. I must have missed a step. And try it again. 827-931-73129. And she looks like she's going. Usually it's faster than this. It's actually pretty quick, usually. So she's going, joining the meeting. We think she is. There we go. And then the passcode. It asks for that also. And honestly, I don't even know what our passcode is. This is not my normal meeting. What is our passcode? Click the little shield at the top of the Zoom. Somebody, and tell me what it is.
733-025.
Say again, Mickey.
733-025.
Thank you, Mickey. All right, there we go. So now it's joined in. There will be pop-ups. Check yes on those pop-ups, or else it's not going to work. Being recorded, yes. And look, there we go. Magic. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it back over here. Stop the video. No. Now that's the video when because it actually can take video in and out too. So I stopped the video there, and I guess it just wants to do that share content. That's new to me. So I'm gonna go over here to on the view side of the controller. So once we have the actual controller over here, and if I click view, and this is new in the latest version, the previous version you had
Controller
to,
not visible.
controller's not visible. You're not seeing it?
We see a black screen.
Black screen only.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, Zoom doesn't like you to show Zoom stuff in a share.
Well, I wonder if I can trick it multiple ways. Nope. Nope, I guess not. Well, this one shows it. Yeah. And then it goes. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. No, I didn't test this to start with. I don't. I just used to doing things fast and furious, right? So you guys can't see this even though it's coming from that screen. You see, what do you see?
TriCaster.
Yeah, vector.
But it is a very pretty version of TriCaster, right? Okay. All right. So what we'll do, all right, we'll work the problem. Let's work the problem together. So we have this thing called NDI Scan Converter, right? Everybody should have that on their computer. So we're going to work it around the back end here, and NDI 6. Has everybody updated NDI 6, by the way? I hope so. So much fun stuff in there. All right. And then I'm going to go to right. Able KVM. All right. Now she's working. Okay. So now we're going to go to here. We're going to bring down our inputs, and let's see. We should see a workstation, and it's one of these. Okay, great, great. Oh, wait, I have a better idea. I have a big ass screen behind me. I'll really do it old school. All right, I'll move out of the way. So on the screen, you can see that it says add inputs. Get my mic a little closer for you. So on the screen, you can see I said it has different inputs, and on each one of those inputs are choices to send on the output. So if I hit add, then I find which one I want to send to it. So let's send Andrew to that output, and then Chris is going to go to that output. And even if you have people in there that are not visible, say for instance, Nate that's playing nowhere, then we're going to go back over to our remote share here, and we'll add those inputs in. Not remote share, but the TriCaster. And so now those are all my inputs. Okay. So in input 5, then that machine is one of my Dells, so it's going to come off of Dell. That's Dell 3 is what we have. So Dell 4, I'm going to start off with video 1. There's Andrew. And then start off with Dell 4, video 2. I already had this lined up so that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Dell 4, video 3. Dell 4, video 4. And if they don't have their video, like if they're being bashful, like some people there and don't want to show their videos, or driving down the road trying to kill people, then we have just their name as a placeholder. Or if they're like me and they have a specific background image or a specific logo assigned to whenever you turn your camera off, mine actually does that. If I remember right. Yes. So if I turn my camera off, I have that holding image. Well, then that's what I would actually see if Nate didn't have that. So their logo or whatever happens to be there. So that's how we get the sources back into the switcher of choice that we might have. So any questions so far?
A couple. So Zoom Rooms is an extra cost thing. How do you,
$50 a month.
okay, and anybody can get that, or you have to add it on to an existing subscription, or how's that work?
I do believe that you do have to have at least what do they call it? Business professional, something like that. I'm paying right now like 112, I think, or 120 a month. And I have two Zoom Rooms plus my subscription.
What's the reason for choosing this over something like Zoom ISO, or, like I sometimes use vMix as a Zoom ISO to feed
Yeah.
my switcher?
Yeah. All right. So very good point. Very good point. All right. So for me, it's virtualization. So it's about being able to do it in the cloud. Number one, Zoom ISO can run on a Mac in the cloud in AWS. You'll pay for a Mac every 42 days, I think it is. So that's a new Mac Mini every 42 days. Just because they're so expensive to run the Mac in the cloud for AWS. So for me, in our workflows, 100%, this is where we would go Zoom Rooms as an option there. They're now with the capabilities of the vMix being able to take in and do effectively the same process of multiple people coming in, sucking them out of a Zoom room or out of a Zoom meeting and then putting them in their show. Yes, there's not a whole lot of advantage. The only other thing is you're not putting all your eggs in one basket as you would with vMix. You're actually can run it on multiple machines, just like I did, spread your load around and possibly have more inputs at your disposal.
Well, when I do that, I'm using it as just a Zoom siphon.
Just
I
as a
mean,
siphon.
I'm not switching the show when I would be doing it that way. No.
And wouldn't there be a limit also?
Well,
you
yeah,
know me,
because
I'm not
vMix
a
only
huge-
has 4 outputs, and until
So
they
4 would be okay.
make Zoom inputs something that it would add to the NDI ISO outputs, but it doesn't do that. So you're restricted to the 4 physical
Yeah.
outputs of vMix right now. So, but 4 per instance, and I can run as many instances as I want, opt into that same meeting, just like you're doing with your rooms.
Right. So you could, but at 4 at a time. So with Zoom Room, you could do up to 12. After 8, there is a drop in resolution at that point. And there is a flag that's available to some people. And I found this out in a group meeting today, that there is a flag with there's a high bandwidth mode that Zoom has that office hours has. And so they have that flag in their account. I'm not sure I have that in my account turned on just yet. And the high bandwidth mode is something that definitely helps spread out more quality across multiple people. So you could do more pinning or more people through multiple Zoom rooms at that point, from the way I
Is that
understand.
the BO 100 breakout 100?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would need to get Andy Carluccio in here to give us 100% of the gospel on it. But that is without a doubt something that, if you're doing a lot of this, you would want to ask for and get approved for. Yesterday, what we were seeing a little bit too, Chris Fenwick was in somewhere in the Bay Area in his little cubby there. And he was coming in and out of resolution a little bit from my eyes for what I was seeing. Chris, were you having any kind of network hiccups or anything like that you know of?
No, but I will tell you that my my connection to the world is a wireless hop from the roof of my building across the bay.
Right.
And so it's a service in the Bay Area called Sail Internet. And the building I'm in is notorious for bad Comcast nightmare, never works. Sail came in, installed antennas on each of the 6 buildings, and then they run it via copper phone line down to the individual apartments. And then there's a little box plugged into where you would put a landline. I don't have a landline. And then it turns it into Ethernet. I have no idea what all that technology is called. I've spoken with other people. And there you go. Maybe
wireless
it is.
internet service provider.
Yeah. So it could very well be a that thing falling apart.
Was it cloudy yesterday? Not usually in the afternoon, huh?
Actually, it may have been a little overcast yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been. I was at my house in Sacramento over the weekend where it was 100 plus, and we got here and I'm wearing a sweatshirt and it's it's a chilly 62 or something like that right now.
A little bit different. Just
A little bit different. Let's see,
That
what
was
is it
that was the
actually?
only thing that I noticed that and I was cutting the show, so I really had visual on, especially when I had Chris side by side with Grant that was coming in from Australia. Grant looked sharp, but Chris was kind of
Yeah.
going in and out of resolution. So there was
I've never heard anybody say that they specifically saw a problem, but this
Yeah.
could just be the first one.
Yeah, and we were playing around with. I had a lot of, as I was saying earlier, I had a lot of things going on that I could only
Yeah.
address one thing at a time, and solving the audio clicks was a priority of mine to get taken care of first. So now that we solved that, it was just a physical issue more so than a non-physical issue. So that happens at times. So as a whole, the whole Zoom room interface and controlling it is great up to the point of where I was saying earlier, as you notice, it just takes over the whole screen. You can't window it out. You can't alt tab, to get to other things in it. It's made to take over that machine. So
Yeah,
you
it's really made to sort of act like an appliance. You just
Like
need to
standalone
dedicate
at
a
a
machine to
kiosk.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
like a kiosk type setup. That's just
You
100%.
you can press the Windows button and get back out of it.
A little bit. Yes, that is true.
Absolutely, positively, 100% you can. We do it all the time.
Okay.
And then for your controller, how are you? What are you doing for that controller?
For on the controller side, I'm using my Zoom client or my phone. Is what I did to do the assignments. Which I was shocked
There's
it
a
worked.
little. You want to see a little trick?
Of course we do. Come on.
Nope, not
now.
interested. Keep it to yourself.
So if you go ahead and press that Windows button on that machine, and then go into your C drive.
All right. Let me see if I can get that machine visible. All right. You guys see that? No, because I'm not sharing. Duh. Okay, here we go. Oh, no. Oh, isn't that a pretty screen? That's my outdoor view. So let me get you the right screen.
Wow, that's what Texas looks like.
Except it's hotter in real life. And there we go again.
So
All right.
try pressing the Windows button.
Windows. Yes.
Okay. Now go to your C drive.
I might have to find a file explorer somewhere in here.
You can probably just type this PC.
Actually, you could just go to the Zoom folder there. Whoa, going on a trip.
Okay.
Or just right click an icon. Yeah, you right click an icon and just say show destination. It should give you Explorer, right?
There we go.
All right. So inside of program files.
All right.
Now go to Zoom rooms.
Uh-huh.
Go to bin.
Uh-huh.
And go down to controller.
This is pretty straightforward. I'm sure it's in the instructions somewhere.
I was gonna say we are off in the. Do you want to see a trick? All right,
All right.
See
Controller EXE or what?
Yep, controller exe.
there we are. 3 from the top.
There we go. All right.
Boom. Launch
Now
it.
Launch it from
Yeah.
here. Okay.
And then you would enter in that powering code, and now you have, or you could sign in either or. Now you have a controller app, and you can then bounce back and forth. So in the cloud, where you don't have a controller, this is how you have a controller.
Okay. So then you could bounce between them using Alt Tab.
Yep.
Oh. Bye-bye. Look at that. Group Hive Mind already working. Fantastic. All right. So is that how Jonas has your machines that you're using in Guy, that you have that running locally at the same time the Zoom room is starting up also?
Well, we would just VPN into that machine. So yeah, you could do it like that, but yeah, that's how it's done in the cloud.
Okay. And that way you're not having to pair your local machine to the one in the cloud. Because I have noticed if you lose connection from your local machine, the Zoom room does not necessarily like that.
Yeah.
It will come unpaired and then be very fussy. Very good. All right. Anyway, definitely learned more today. And I am not a Zoom room professional by any means, because I had other tools that I've been using for a long time with the CNN processing engine and Unite modules that we played with last week. And so that is some of the alternatives that are out there. Greg, kind of on your hand of how many ones that can get in there. There's one you missed. QuickLink is another one that does this same kind of Zoom integration, and Mimo Live for those that are stuck on a Mac would be another one that actually can join in and talk directly to the Zoom through the API. I've brought it up to the guys at Sienna about doing a module that could do the same things. They just didn't feel like there was enough demand yet to warrant that. And I've 100% brought it up to the guys at VizRT for the same reason. The Zoom integration that's in the Vector or the TC2 Elite, which is what we have here also in on-prem, it's basically a screen scrape. So it's using a 4K output of a multi-viewer. It has everybody up, and then if you have anybody that changes, like Nate keeps coming in and out without his video, that changes the layout, which then throws off your pins. Yeah, like what Mickey's doing. Yeah, I would boot him permanently at that point, because it would throw off if you had everybody pinned 1 through 10, like we have, 8 up right now, and then you toggle that on and off, it would just be like blah, blah, and everybody looks stupid. So that's one of the things. I've never used the TC2 Zoom integration for that reason, or the Vector at that point too. I'm trying to think of anybody else that is using it. So other solutions that we would want to use for Ingest to do something like this would probably be maybe SRT, maybe. But what would be the disadvantage of SRT? Latency. To have a conversation like us, like what we're having here, that would be the bigger challenge, right? What were we going to say, Taylor?
SRT, I like to use it for more one-way communication. So just the final product going out, not necessarily for two-way communication.
Yep. Yeah, it's still SRT, even as at 1,000 milliseconds, it's still way faster than what we have in satellite from Greg's days of pointing satellites and doing talkbacks between remote sites. And I would say then it's even faster than what I'm used to using in my LiveView setups also. But you give up some things is with that in LiveView, especially I've got bonding through it. I have not actually pushed enough SRT to be 100% behind it on like a bonded Peplink or something that's using cellular bonding, but on the infrastructure side, not on the video side. So LiveView is basically you're taking the video into that, converting it into the packets, and then its service is taking over multiple LANs, WANs, everything that it could get its hands on, Wi-Fi, and also the cellular side. And then at that point on, it's sending it out on its way, and then putting it back together when all those packets are show up at the server, bundled up and jumbled up. Then it puts it back together. The Peplink can do the similar thing. Has anybody here had good success over a Peplink with multiple SRT feeds, not just one? Not much. No. I wish I had Jonas here today. I bet he's probably sleeping already, and is Paris. He's probably not even in a hotel. He's probably in like a penthouse somewhere, I bet. He's big time now. He's working at Olympics, big time. Well, he would be some good information. So maybe we'll circle back to that. But that was one of the things that a lot of people have tried that. And then there's always the other bonding thing that I don't know if anybody here has done that either, is Netify. That is its own tricks of the trade, I guess you would say. They're doing something very similar to LRT, which is the live view or TVUs, whatever theirs is called, bonding, multiple WAN, multiple cellular bonds. But I have not had a whole lot of experience, a good experience with Speedify. I've only tried it like 2 times. It was just one of those, all right, we're going to try everything to save the problem or save the show that we were having a problem with. When we got the site and somebody that was supposed to book the internet did not book the internet. So we were running off of, 10 cans and 4 pieces of string that wouldn't reach. So with the challenges, I know there's a lot of people that are really big into Zoom. For that reason, they're trying to carry that over on remote links also. And whenever we did the Eclipse coverage for office hours, we never actually went down that. We were going the SRT route from that point. So we were using SRT over a few of them. Actually, come to think of it, I think a couple of them had bonded connections, but it was more about being able to have that extra buffer in SRT to help make up the lost packets and the lost things that were happening during that cycle of in the middle of nowhere coverage that we had a lot of people in. Chris, don't you have one of Keenan's routers? His disaster recovery, what is a disaster group, right? No, you had a Starlink out.
I had a
you were doing
Starlink
groups.
out in Texas when I was there for the Eclipse, but not one of Keenan's. Keenan's wouldn't have worked because I was in a cellular blackout area. There's no cellular at all. So Keenan's works great if you have a lot of cell capabilities. He's actually working on new hardware that has 5 slots, I think. You really pack that thing full of, every SIM card on the planet. And he's got a little screen on the front. He and Jonas are in the process of designing a new hardware and software to run the thing.
That's good. Yeah, that's another option. I'll put a note in the Discord about it. But that is a great option if any of you guys need bonded cellular and don't want to go down the path that we had to go with Peplink and trying to learn it and do everything. Yeah, you just plug in his router and go. It's been really good for a lot of people. Great, and price point is actually better than a lot of the Peplink stuff. Depending on this, you're going to, especially the real high bev. Some of our Peplink routers were $3,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. And I've got one that's like a $5,000 router. You can do all kinds of channels, yeah, but it comes at a price. So our normal production ones are $2,000, I think, is what the Max BR2s are that we're using. And those are 2 5Gs. And if it's got 4 or 5 LTE or 5G modems in it, that's going to be a pretty big game changer in his price point, which his price point was really good. Yeah, for sure. All right, so we kind of diverged a little bit off of our original subject of Zoom rooms and things like that. Rion, down from the islands. Hey, welcome back, Rion. What question do you have today?
Hey, good evening, everyone, or good night in some cases. Not a question so much. As you were talking about the bonded solutions, there's this guy I've spoken to online called Carlos Phoenix. I don't know if any of you know him. He seems to have a solution for bonding that it's like multiple modem, like GSM modems or whatever, as well as he was explaining it that they can remote into whatever the device is. Should in case we be like something at CES where the local cell towers are too congested, they can log into your device and tell that device not to connect to the nearest cell towers, but be able to go further out and connect so that you can get a better reception or whatever as the case may be. So
That's interesting.
I have some information for him, so I could probably send it to you and could contact him.
Always good to have another option or another way of looking at things. I do know that the guys, I'm gonna skip their name. I can't think of it. Pop-up Wi-Fi. They're using multiple modems. Most of the stuff is off the shelf type things that they're putting their own layers on, and they sell not sell, but rent a kit that could go out and they can log in remotely into that Peplink equipped. It's like a 1510 Pelican case with the modems are in there, the antennas, everything's in there. And then they could go out and remotely come in to that box and tweak it to kind of do what you're talking about, Rian, whether it be something remotely that they could do to make that signal a little bit better. So pop-up Wi-Fi was one of those, if you're just looking for something as a service too. The other thing I noticed Nate is saying, yeah, have a couple backup pinning computers as that, as an option too. And he's not had a great success rate with, or as he calls it, a failure rate with Zoom ISO and vMix's Zoom's functionality. As he says, when it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't, you're just SOL and burned out. So that would be one of the things to keep in mind is redundancy. And that was all I was worried about was in this show yesterday was having one machine, because at first it was like, oh, it's just going to be 6 people. Oh, we need graphics. In the way we were getting graphics in at that time, because we didn't have a data link, we had to use another input. Okay, well, there's 7. Then, oh, well, we want to do not, oh, and one of the things you can assign is the actual, the switched, what Zoom does is an audio switch. So the active speaker, you can assign that to an output. So we had that assigned to an output also. So I filled up my buffer of what I possibly could do. And that's where I ran into problems. So having a backup machine running it was definitely good. And I should have had it in place and distributed to start with.
Yeah, those same pinning machines can just be used as Zoom rooms.
True.
So the hardware you already have can just get repurposed very quickly, especially with NDI.
Yeah. If it's on the network, it's fine. In our interactions with Sage's studio, it's all Mac in the whole studio, except for the 2 machines that are running the Mark Roberts software to run their cameras and everything. So I have a few challenges. Well, and then my Linux machine, the Sienna engine that's sitting there. So I have a few challenges at times of getting other software working on their network. But one of the things that he doesn't do is use Zoom ISO. He's not a fan of it. And so everything that's coming in is just straight up Zoom meetings on Macs. And if you didn't know it, there is one reason to have a Mac that I know of besides Unity. You can actually start up to 4 different Zoom meetings on one machine. You can keep launching the app and you can actually run 4 different Zoom meetings, 4 different logins, everything off of one machine. They were doing that. I was like, how are you seeing all these? I'm seeing multiple meetings windowed out in there. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much a Mac thing that I could figure out. So that's pretty handy if you ever run into this situation where you just need an extra 2 or 3 meetings, like for team viewing or something like that, extra out there that you can just run it instead of throwing another piece of hardware down, running that through them. I, on the other hand, are doing it a little bit different with our new virtualized jet engine, as we've affectionately named it. I got a new Dell 7525 server that we put in the back of our MCR, and it's loud. It's very loud, and it's driving me insane. So we call it the jet engine because it sounds like a jet engine taking off all the time. We're taking that and virtualizing our whole stack. So the 12 Dell 3930 single RU units that we were using as servers are now as Zoom meetings and things like that. Now they're all going into virtual machines on that machine. It's a dual EPYC, AMD EPYC chipset with 128 cores and has a half a terabyte of RAM in it. So that's where we're headed. Hopefully we can do it in 2U. I am already in the feeling that the one machine is probably charging me more electricity than the other 12 machines that it replaced because of it running so much. But I don't know, still to be determined how much it's actually sucking up. I'm gonna put a watt meter on it before too long just to see, because it's moving some air through there for sure. as far as the Zoom meeting side or Zoom rooms and Zoom meeting side, I have had plenty of success on our local other machines that we're doing virtual meetings on. And so they're running on virtual machines, and we haven't had any problems at all with that too. So that's another option for hardware. You don't necessarily need hardware. You just need to know how to do virtualization, which is getting easier and easier. So that's kind of the gist of everything that I had. Anybody? Oh, John, Hyper-V, yeah, unlimited meetings, yeah, up to a point till the hardware stops, right? You will
Yeah.
run out of CPU or CPU, not necessarily GPU, but CPU or RAM at some point in time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's always good to have a couple of VMs around. It's always
Yep.
fun.
yeah.
Easy to move them.
Yes, exactly. And so we're doing some pretty fun things with that box. I just wish it was quieter. I'm gonna have to put it outside, just put a tent over it or something, I guess. Right, probably.
That's the problem with server. You get those really small fans that make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
step up to 120 or 200 millimeter fans, and they can move a lot of air without making a lot of noise.
Yeah, you're always giving up, and I honestly I really thought that our 1Us that we got, I fell in love with these 3930s, is they will spin up fast, but they're hardly ever running that hard, so they don't need to spin fast. But I have noticed that the 1U server that I have the Sienna processing engine running on at Sage in Charleston, that 1U is just slightly louder, but every once in a while, if we really kick in the CPU and really push it, it's a 64 core. If we really push it, it'll ramp up a little bit, but it's nothing like this 2U that just screams back there. I can still hear it from here.
Have you logged into the iDRAC and adjusted the fan profile?
Not yet. I just powered it up 3 days ago. So yeah, iDRAC I got access to that. I bought it used. This is one of the eBay specials. So it's when I went to Dell, priced it out at brand new, it was about 14 grand. And I got it for like 3,500, I think it was. So yeah. And so I figured that was a good price to take a $10,000 savings on to see if it works or not. It does come straight from China. So I'm sure all the appropriate SPI network software is installed. I'm assuming they installed that already for us. So I don't have to worry about it doing
Just
it myself.
splashed into the iDRAC, probably.
Probably. I would just, be positive about it, right? So well, that's what we got today. I hope that helps somebody out there get a little bit of idea of what makes it tick behind Zoom rooms, because it's a useful tool, to say the least, for contribution purposes and things like that. Next week, I'm not really sure if we're going to be ready or not, but our new platform, Nimbus Cloud, is just about ready for release, and I want everybody to see this and poke at it, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride for us. For those a few of you know, because I've shared it with you, those that don't know, is we're building a control platform that is effectively the abstract layer of doing our job, our production job of remote productions, being able to see a multi-viewer, have comms at your hands, have all the different things that you need on a given day when you're remotely working, or have distributed workflows and things like that. That's exactly what we're going after. So it's going to be a one-place interface to be able to go in and assign people responsibilities, assign people roles, and be able to share the load of all the gear that you have. And it's going to be available to run either in a on-prem basis, or AWS or GCP or Oracle, or wherever cloud you want to run it on, if you want to do cloud production, or just administer to your local hardware also. And gear like the TriCaster, for instance, if it's got a software output, we'll be able to get into it and control it from the control interfaces too. So it's going to be a good time, and hopefully we're going to be at a point that we can show everybody and start poking at it and start onboarding some friends of you. That I'm inviting it out to our Discord server just to share with them a little bit first before going out to the full-on public. But I think we're on to a really good finish line coming up. Yeah, so should be fun. Anybody else? Anything else that anybody want to cover? Question, answers, anything like that? We got 7 minutes left. Any big sticking questions coming along?
Not a question, but just a comment. I posted the link to the box in the chat. I was telling you about.
Oh, I see that now. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Rion. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that we'll definitely have to check into these guys. That looks really amazing. It's a good idea to have other pieces at your disposal from time to time.
One quick note on Zoom Rooms. They did come out with an update this week, so you no longer have to be host or co-host.
Yes.
You can just use, you could just grant recording permission. So we have this meeting that's running 24/7 that if you guys want to test, I'll put a link in the Discord to the meeting, and you don't even have to ask for permit. Well, you do have to ask for permission any time of the night or day. It'll be granted automatically. It's just a script that runs. So feel free to play with it, and you'll have 8 HD sources on high bandwidth mode to play with.
That's fantastic, guys. I'm glad that you were able to put that together. That's kind of what I wanted to do, with this show, is just so more people could see what we are doing on the back end, and even people like Chris that are just editors, they might eventually want to do some live production somewhere.
CDNs hate this one weird trick of the meeting that runs forever.
Oh, yeah. Eventually they're going to figure it out, right?
I say this meeting's been running for 3 years. What's going on here?
Keep going in and out, in and out. I want to thank you, Guy, for bringing that up, because Guy's got a very interesting environment that he's building out there in Seattle. So it's, as he and I have been talking, he's got a lot of bandwidth available to him now with his new connections. So hopefully we can all help him move things along. So if you need to co-locate something, I just thought about, Guy, I'm gonna send you a 7525 here before too long. No problem. I'm gonna send that to you. And you won't need a heater.
But it probably won't sound bad. It'll probably sound loud.
Yeah, you're close enough. I'll just send that to you, and then I know I won't hear it from here. That'll be even perfect. Yeah, that's
all right. That one's going in the garage.
Well, I thought I had far enough away, and I have a friend that wanted to give me an ISO box. So it's effectively just a big rack and a rack and a rack kind of thing with baffles and all this fan cooling and stuff like that. I don't even think it would touch this thing. I could get it in there space wise. I think it makes so much noise I'd still hear it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm looking to find I'm probably gonna have to build a wall. I'm gonna build a wall.
You got to put a meter on this thing so we can get a number on it. Like, what's the SPL on it?
Yeah, how loud is it?
It's loud. It's loud.
Doesn't matter. You need to build a noise room like NAP's doing now.
Is it louder than your F650?
No. It's not as loud as my son's car though. So it's not as loud as the Cayenne either, but it's pretty loud.
I think what you could do is like have a screen with a noise level on it, and the more stuff we could throw on the server is like that's the what to say, that's the game you're playing.
Yes.
What can you do to make it reach red line?
It's pretty close already. I think it actually, and I'm gonna go into the iDRAC like you said, John, and see if I can make some adjustments in it. Because I'm sure it could turn it down. I mean, it's not even doing 2% CPU right now, so it's not a matter of load by any means. But yeah, I might go make some adjustments. But for that said, I will post. I've got a meter on my phone. I'm gonna go measure it both off and on, and I want to know exactly what it is
and measure it against something else that's somewhat knowable. So comparison.
Okay. All right. And so I'll do 3 measurements. So one will be with just the Dell 3930, which Greg and I definitely know how loud those are. And then I'll do a measuring it's against our 45 drive, which is a 4U, big fans, always loud NAS. And I thought that was the loud one.
I was gonna say, did you do the Noctua swaps to calm it down yet?
No.
It gets much quieter if you swap them out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's usually at the expense of airflow. I mean, at what point does that actually hurt to do that?
Yeah, that's
depending
true.
on how hard you're moving them. But I'm not moving data on the thing's just sitting back there for just storage.
And it's just a box of drives.
Yeah, I'm not even barely pushing anything. I was
And
doing
that's that
across the
2
medium
rows.
size.
If it's how many bays?
No, wait, no, this is 2. This is a Q30. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got the 2 rows of fans pulling and pushing and at the back.
Yes, yeah. And honestly, the CPU fan on that is a single Xeon. The CPU fan on it, I can hear it spin up first before the other fans get to speed.
I
So-
swapped mine with a Noctua cooler. I know I spent too
Awesome.
much money on it, but I was just like, I just need you to be quiet, please.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. I thought it was the loudest thing I'd ever owned. And then I turned the 75-25 on. I was like, any second now, she's going to slow down. Any second now. Nope, not at all. Full out all the way. Well, thanks everybody for dropping by. What makes it tick? And that is Zoom Rooms for this time around. We'll see everybody next week. Looking forward to it.